everyone kept telling us, you will never get elected officials to change how elected officials get elected, right? It makes sense. If you're in power, why would you change how you get into power, right? That sounded like a fun challenge to me.
What we're trying to do is implement the will of the voters and not, focus on party politics, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat.
It's one of those reforms that really does not give advantage to one side or the other. So it seems a little silly to have it become partisan, but that's just the nature of politics today and why we need to change the systems that we're in.
We believe in the will of the voters. The will of the voters should always control. And when you have incentives in our political system to disincentivize other voices to be a part of our system because we're fearful of that spoiler effect, that is not democracy. That's not how it was intended to be.
Voters are pissed off, and rightfully so. Like, this is not how politics should look in our country. We're focused on attacking each other. We're focused on segmenting ourselves into silos. The issues almost don't even matter.
And getting back to that same social science principle where the idea coming from a Democrat is inherently viewed with skepticism by a Republican, and that same idea by a Republican is viewed with skepticism by a Democrat. We really should be looking at the underlying issue.
So in Portland, what we've seen is an absolutely massive uptick in the number of people running and a really diverse cast of characters running. And every single person I've seen running for city council now in Portland said they never would have run before we implemented ranked choice voting.
One of the things that I would love to see is more coalition style politics.
Because they now don't need to compete with each other, right? They can run on their own platforms instead of tearing each other down.
So that was something I think was incredibly successful in Oregon, is starting from the ground up, kind of a grassroots approach in partnership with the legislative leadership.
We've built some really strong relationships with our partner groups. We've made sure to put the partner organizations in our coalition front and center on this.
We allowed the community to help build the solution, right? So we brought in community organizations, brought in people who care about electoral reform, and allowed them to figure out what is the right solution to Oregon. And then that is really what brought in a coalition of organizations. I think it lessened some of the pressure among the people who would traditionally oppose it.
We've really had a lot of organizations that are permanent organizations that represent real people, right? Like, we're a single issue, essentially, organization, right? So we've taken a stance that whenever possible, we are in the back seat, not the driver's seat when it comes to this campaign.
There is this reality in the world where people believe that politicians are a part of the problem and are resistant to these changes. And there's a lot of evidence to back that up. I think in Oregon, for me, it was a point of pride that politicians, your elected officials, can be a part of the solution too, if you have the right people in the offices.